Ladies and gentlemen, the NHL season has gloriously started, and I wanted to make my final awards predictions for every single major NHL trophy before we get too far into the year. This includes not just the Calder trophy, but the Hart, the Vezina, the Norris, and a lot more. We're going to basically be going through every single one and picking my top 5 candidates for each of them. So make sure you guys watch till the end for all the awards talk and predictions here, and hit that subscribe button if you're new for more hockey content just like this all throughout the year. Now, before we get into the picks, I want to mention last week's member poll here on the channel with you guys predicting who will win the Stanley Cup in 2026. And it was interesting. I gave you guys 3 options between the Carolina Hurricanes, the Edmonton Oilers, and the Florida Panthers. 75% of you guys said Carolina, and then the other 25% commented the Dallas Stars. So an overwhelming favorite here in the Canes. And for you members on the channel, the member poll that'll be featured in next week's video is already live, with the poll being which NHL team surprises and makes the NHL playoffs in 2026. Utah, Columbus, Detroit, or Anaheim. Now, if you guys want to help support the channel and be a big part of the member polls every single week, you can hit the link in the description down below or hit the join button next to the subscribe button. And for a couple bucks a month, you can help support and get a bunch of extra perks. Starting things out today, we're going to go with the Calder Trophy, the award I've already talked about a little bit, doing a ranking a couple months back, but now I wanted to do a bit of a revised top 5. The guys I see being the top 5 in voting by the end of the year. As you guys can see, I do still have Aidan Delaney number 1, but I will say with everything we've heard recently about him starting on PP2 and just how the deployment has been with the other players in that middle 6, I'm a little bit less optimistic towards this. It's not as much of a slam dunk, even if he is still the favorite to me. Now, of course, it's how Hudson started off last year, so there's always time for things to change and for Delaney to rack up a few more points, but I think just starting there, it makes me a little bit less optimistic. And my top 3 changes just a little bit with ZBO. I'm still being at number 2. I think he's going to have a big opportunity on that power play for Minnesota and to really be the offensive guy there from the back end. But at number 3, instead of Zane Parekh, I'm now going to go for Jimmy Snuggerud, just with the opportunity that we've seen him given, top line, top power play. He's just going to have all the opportunities, especially with a guy like Robert Thomas, with one of the best playmakers out there, to just sling 30 automatic goals, and I think it's going to happen. And now with the top 5 together, I have Sam Rinzel at number 4 and Alexander Nikishin at number 5, and this is a change that I have made fairly recently. I did have Zane Parekh actually at number 3 in my original Calder rankings, but it seems like Calgary is taking a pretty modest approach to giving him playing time. I mean, he's not even playing it in the first game of Calgary's season, so I feel like they might be a little bit more hesitant to give him big minutes compared to players like Buem, players like Rinzel, even Nikishin, who are pretty much locked into those roles. But there's so many good Calder candidates that I didn't even mention. Guys like Isaac Howard, Askarov, Leonard, of course, Zane Parekh. You have Emmett Finney doing great things for Detroit. There could be a lot of options here, but this is how I see the top 5 locking in as of now. Now, Flames fans, don't worry. He would be number 6 if I ranked it that way, but it doesn't seem like the Flames quite view him as highly as me or a lot of you guys do, which is a shame, but it seems like, again, they're taking more of a patient approach, but you got to factor that in when it comes to the actual Calder predictions. Now, going to a trophy that I've yet to talk about so far in the Vezina, this one is fascinating because there are just so many interesting goaltenders that are always in the mix, but getting into that top 3 is a bit of an issue. Still, though, at number 5, I have Jordan Binnington, who's had a couple of very solid seasons the last couple of years and goals they don't have expected. But I think in terms of the save percentage, we're going to see that boost a little bit more as St. Louis's defense gets a little bit more comfortable around themselves. And with that Jim Montgomery system, I see around a 915 save percentage or so. Not enough to be a true Vezina contender, but to be in the running. At number 4, we go on to one of the best goalies in the league in Connor Hellebuyck, in my opinion, the best, especially when we're considering regular season. He's always at a premier level, even though I think we'll see a bit of a decline in terms of his save percentage. I don't think it'll be by too much. The big reason why I think we'll see Hellebuyck outside the top 3 is even if he posts up another great season, I think voter fatigue is just too strong. Back-to-back Vezina Trophy wins, a Hart Trophy now under his belt. I feel like voters always are just so unwilling to keep voting for the same guy over and over, even if they are the best. And I feel like that's going to hurt Hellebuyck just a little bit. I think the concept is stupid because we should just be voting for whoever's the best player, and if they're the best player, then they should be in the running, but that's just how this works, especially for stuff like the Vezina, for the Hart, very subjective stuff. I think it all comes down to these weird semantics. Let's get into the rest of my top 5 here. At number 3, I have another Central Division goalie and a pretty big surprise in Mackenzie Blackwood. Now, for one, I see Colorado having an extremely strong season, and Blackwood being a major part of it. He's something that I've always liked a lot, but now in Colorado, he really gets the chance to shine in a position that isn't absolutely horrible all around him. And I think having that confidence, having that boost will be very huge for him. I mean, he was great when he entered Colorado in the regular season last year, putting up some pretty good numbers, but I think we're going to see a career career year out of him and really explode. And I mean, because of that kind of breakout season, we're going to see him pretty high up here in the Vezina running. And then at number 2 and number 1, I have the 2 Russians here in Andrei Vasilevsky and Igor Shesterkin. And I will say this, Vasilevsky could easily be first. I have Tampa Bay running away in the Atlantic, so I could see a situation where he ends up winning the Vezina, but I just feel like Igor Shesterkin is going to have a big season, even if the Rangers stink it up, which, of course, we've already seen them a little bit. Even though they were awful, horrible, Shesterkin only allowed 1 goal, and it was still looking pretty good, and I think even if the Rangers end up floundering a bit, if they're able to make the playoffs and Shesterkin puts up a .930 save percentage, I feel like people want to vote for that rebound story, and Shesterkin's going to benefit from that. Plus, I just think it's time. He's had a couple of seasons that were decent to good, but not at the level that we had expected him from in the first couple of years of his NHL career, so I think getting back to the level is also just a huge prove-it point for him personally. Onto the Norris Trophy for the NHL's best defenseman. Let's talk into the 5-4 range here with a couple of Atlantic Division defensemen here in Jake Sanderson of the Ottawa Senators and Dahlin of the Buffalo Sabres. The thing is, I think Sanderson is a pretty underrated bet. Maybe not to win the Norris Trophy because I don't think the points are quite going to line up compared to the top guys. But in terms of the general respect of this player, I think it's going to be huge. He's somebody that was already 10th in Norris Trophy last year, and he hadn't even really had the biggest season he's capable of yet. I think Sanderson is capable of potentially a 65-point season. I think that could be in the cards here for the Sens. I think he's going to have a massive year, continuing to improve as well on the great defensive structure he brings. And I think because of the general respect he's already gotten, I think I could see him pretty easily jumping up a few more spots and taking up this position. At number 4, I don't have to explain Dahlin personally. He could be a little bit higher, but I just don't have a lot of faith in Buffalo being able to give him much of a great team to back him up personally. So the point numbers, like Sanderson, won't be at the 80-point type of level that people would rather vote for when it actually comes down to the Norris. But still, I think he's going to continue to gain more and more respect, and hopefully in 2027, we somehow see the Sabres able to actually break out, and Dahlin, I think, would definitely benefit from that. But as of now, I think he's just kind of held back by the team he's on. And now let's get into the rest of the top 5 here. In the top 3, I have Evan Bouchard at number 3, Cale Makar at number 2, and Quinn Hughes at number 1. And the big thing here with Bouchard especially, because that'll be kind of the bigger question mark for people, is I just think the point production is going to be pretty massive this next year. I think we're going to see Connor McDavid have a fantastic year, get back to the level he was at. And Bouchard, in terms of the point production last year, was a little bit more pedestrian. The thing is, Bouchard had 82 points back in 2024, and last season went down to 67, and was still 11th in Norris Trophy voting. So I feel like a lot of the voters really gravitate towards Bouchard anyways, and if he's back to that point per game level, if not a bit more, I could see him getting a lot of praise, especially as Edmonton, I think, just is able to slip into the playoffs. As it usually is for Edmonton, I think they're going to really have to rely on the big dogs there, but I think Bouchard especially needs to take another step offensively, and I think he's absolutely capable of that, as we have seen in the playoffs. And at number 2 and number 1, this is where I have Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes. It feels like we're just switching years between these two guys, but I think this is the year that Quinn Hughes takes that step, is fully healthy, and then takes back the Norris Trophy. Really, at this point, it's between these two players in terms of the premier defenseman in this league. Cale Makar got off to a pretty hot start already, but I think Quinn Hughes is going to do so much to try and will Vancouver into the playoffs, and again, be the reason that team is even somewhat competitive. I mean, the dude only played 68 games last year and was still 3rd in Norris Trophy voting. So just having a fully healthy season, maybe even improving that defensive play on top of already the improvements we've seen. And I think it's enough to get number 1. Now, getting into the Selke Trophy, one of the ones that I think is the hardest to predict, but also the easiest, because reputation is really, at the end of the day, what matters the most here. The Selke is a great opportunity to know that this is who I predict voters will vote on, not who I will end up having as the Calder or Selke Trophy winners by the end. A lot of the Selke Trophy is based on reputation. If you're just bursting into the scene in terms of the Selke race, you're usually going to be down at the bottom, work your way up year after year, and then eventually you could end up winning it. Not because of what you did that given year, but just because people see you as a defensive player. With that being said, I think it is Nico Hischier's time to get that number 1 spot. I think it's been time. It's been a couple years now where he's been improving and progressing in terms of his points, in terms of how much he's been really carrying the load of two-way game on New Jersey, and especially with how much Jack Hughes has been injured, Hischier has really had to come up and step up in a major role. But I think because we'll see Jack Hughes hopefully being a little bit more healthy, I think Hischier will get more spotlight on the defensive side of his game, and ultimately I think this is kind of his year to burst out as that Selke guy, especially with Alexander Barkov gone throughout the year. That really opens up the opportunity for so many people to enter that spot. Outside of that, I think Jack Eichel is going to be in a pretty similar position, especially him and Marner both having, I think, really underrated defensive games. I think it's just going to help both of them together, and Eichel, I think, is going to get a lot of recognition for that. Brandon Hagel has always kind of been around these conversations, but he was somebody that was pretty high up there, 9th in Selke voting last year, but I think just continues to be a Swiss Army knife type of player, bringing that energy, bringing that physicality, and I think he'll get rewarded for that type of recognition there, getting a finalist job. And then at number 4, I'm going to see Anze Kopitar in this position, though honestly, I could see him winning it just because I could so easily see voters with the final year of Anze Kopitar giving him his flowers again, giving him another Selke trophy because they're like, hey, he's going out, we might as well give him another one. And you know what, I probably should have predicted him at number 1 because that's probably going to happen. And then ending us off at number 5 is Nick Suzuki, another one kind of like Eichel Hischier that's been growing in his pedigree over the past couple of years. I think is going to continue to get more and more attention. He was somebody that was pretty high up there in terms of the recognition, 13th in Selke voting last season, but I think he's going to jump up another season as Montreal's defensive responsibilities are pinned a lot on him. Though I will say, I really wanted to have Seth Jarvis in here somewhere. If he's inside the top 5 at some point, not be surprised either, especially as I see his point production continuing to improve. Now, before we keep going, let's talk about MyBookie, the sponsor of today's video. We're fully into October now, and it's the best time to be a sports fan. We got college football, the NFL, we got college hockey, we got the MLB playoffs going, and now the NHL season fully underway. And with all these games cooking up major upsets, blowouts, and surprises, MyBookie lets you hit it all. I'd love the setup here where you can see all the games and all the odds. Even if you're a sicko like me, I just kind of like to see what the odds are like for any given game and kind of just gauge what the favorites might be. And you have a lot of stuff for college football. You also have the NHL as well coming up, and this is going to be a ton of fun, as well as making picks on NHL games. You can also pick on the Stanley Cup too. The best part about it is that if you are new to MyBookie, you can use promo code GRAVITE, and any bet you choose up to $500 is fully covered. And a big thank you to MyBookie for being today's sponsor, the best place to make your bets all throughout this hectic sports season. On to the Hart Trophy for the NHL's most valuable player, another one that is extremely subjective and voters always vote in different ways. Is it the most valuable player for a team that just got there? Is it just going to be the best player of the year? It always is kind of a strange race to cover, but this is how I see it ending. With Connor McDavid getting the Hart Trophy, Matthews coming at number 2, Quinn Hughes number 3, Clayton Keller number 4, and then the Ottawa Senators' Tim Stützle just getting inside that top 5. Now, first things first, I think McDavid's going to have a massive season, and I think a lot of voters are going to love that he took that pay cut, took only $12.5 million, see him as that leader, and kind of give him a bit more of a nudge than they would have otherwise. Austin Matthews is in this position, and I think he could also be number 1, mostly because I see a lot of the offense flowing through him over the course of this next year, especially in the goal scoring department, as I see that really rebounding in a massive way. I just think he's going to have a great year, though, and get back to kind of the Matthews level we've come to enjoy, both McDavid and Matthews, honestly. Quinn Hughes, no-brainer, even if the Canucks don't make the playoffs, and that's how I see it going, I still think Quinn Hughes is going to be a finalist, especially if he gets like 90 points again, does everything possible. He's going to be in the conversation, as he should. I don't think the Canucks need to make the playoffs for Quinn Hughes to be in the race, because he's just that valuable for that team. At number 4, I have Clayton Keller, and Utah I do see making the playoffs, and Keller being a big reason for that. Could easily see him getting a 100-point season, and with how much that Utah offense flows through him, I could pretty easily see him getting that recognition, that love, and rightfully so, because I think it's been a long time coming for Keller, one of the more underrated guys that still doesn't quite get the recognition at the top end level that I think he probably deserves. And then I have Tim Stützle at number 5, who is another one that's kind of been working his way up in terms of the pedigree. He had a so-so 2024, got back to a decent level 2025, but we're still kind of waiting for that 90-point 2023 type of level out of Stützle again. I think we are going to see it this next year. On top of Sanderson having a great year, a lot of those young guys kind of improving in their overall games. But Stützle, I think, is somebody that's going to have a massive season, drive a lot of that Ottawa offense, especially at the top end level, and especially for how well I see them doing in the regular season, being a big reason and a big credit for their success. And I think he could be somebody that does eventually win it down the line just because of how much that offense could be carried by him over the next couple of years. On to the Maurice Richard, the trophy for the most goals by the end of the season. And this is honestly one of my favorite ones to predict because goals year to year are so unpredictable that it always looks a bit silly. And there's always one surprise that ends up really doing well. Well, and as you guys can see in my top 5, I do have a bit of an interesting one compared to what we've seen in the past. Austin Matthews, I do think will score the most goals in the league. We'll see how much that ends up getting, but I'm hoping it's over 50 at the very least. I think we're going to see a rebound season out of him, hopefully a little bit more healthy, but just being the guy goal scoring wise, again, like like we've seen out of Austin Matthews' best seasons. Kyle Connor, I see coming in at number 2. I did make this prediction when Kyle Connor was unsigned. I thought he would go crazy in a pending or UFA year, so that's not the case here, but I still think Connor's going to reward the Jets with a massive season coming up. At number 3, Leon Draisaitl. He's always going to be in the conversation, always going to be one of the best goal scorers out there. At number 4, I have a bit of a dark horse here with Adrian Kempe. Now, LA's offense is hard, just in general, but to predict as well. But Kempe's just somebody I've liked for a long time, and I just have a feeling about him that he might end up popping this season. Didn't get a goal in his first game, but still had a primary assist, so hopefully that confidence is able to go throughout the course of the season. But that's just the speed and how much LA relies on him for those game-breaking goals. I just think Kempe is going to be really in a position to do everything for the LA offense, and hopefully he ends up doing that. And then number 5 is Tage Thompson. We really saw him getting back to that elite goal-scoring pedigree this last season for Buffalo, and that is going to be a huge thing for Thompson going forward, that consistency year to year. We haven't quite seen it, but I think 2026 is going to hopefully prove it. And now let's end off with the Art Ross Trophy for the most points scored in an NHL season. And this one, I think, is going to really come down to the wire. I see a couple of guys getting really close together in a 120, 125 point range. Ultimately, I do see Nathan MacKinnon end up winning it. I'm going to predict 128 points for him, but like right below. Basically, a couple points below is Connor McDavid. Same thing with Leon Draisaitl. I do see Austin Matthews having a super productive year, hopefully getting past the 100 point mark, maybe around the 110 mark perhaps. That'd be pretty sick. And then Jack Eichel at number 5. I think he's going to be boosted quite a bit by just how prolific Mitch Marner is as a playmaker, as just a distributor. I think that's going to help his line quite a bit. How many points he ends up getting is a question mark, but I could see him absolutely getting above the 100-point plateau for the first time, and maybe around 108 points or so. Maybe not 110 like Matthews, but just below there. But those are my predictions for every single major award in the NHL this next season. Sorry to the coaches and the GM of the award. I don't really care as much with those ones. Sorry about that. But just in terms of the players, these are the major ones I wanted to talk about. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed, make sure that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. Comment down below your thoughts on my predictions. What do you guys agree and disagree with? And who do you see as a dark horse winner for any of these awards? Let me know your thoughts down below. Of course, share it with all the hockey fans you guys know online, and click on this card for all of my hockey predictions content right in one playlist. And of course, if you want to support the channel even more, you can hit the join button to become a channel member. For just a couple bucks a month, you get exclusive videos every single week, exclusive emojis, exclusive member polls as well, and a lot more on top of that. I just released a video talking about the opening day NHL games and my thoughts on those. So if you want to check that out, you can become a member today and watch that video right now, actually. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure you have a fantastic hockey day, and goodbye.